Today I will show you a horror, thriller film from 2020, titled Would You Rather. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Iris is in a restaurant, interviewing for a waitressing position, for which she doesn't have any experience. The interviewer asks her why she moved back home and she tells him that there was an accident with her parents so she needs to take care of her brother. He can't promise her a job, but she seems hopeful. The next day, her brother is making breakfast and she's calculating something on the table. Iris asks him if he'll be okay alone for a while, because she needs to go to the clinic and see his doctor. He might be able to help them cut the cost for his treatment. Later, she goes over to the clinic and helps a woman in a wheelchair with the door. Iris enters the doctor's office and there's another man in there as well, which is introduced as Lembrick. She sits down and he tells her that he can help with her situation. Dr. Barden gives her some more context about Lembrick, that he has founded clinics all over the world. Lembrick explains that him and his family want to help people like her and her brother. She asks what she needs to do for his help and he tells her that she needs to come to a dinner party at his house and participate in a game. If she wins, she'll get everything she needs. Iris isn't sure about the proposition, but the doctor assures her that it's a real deal. He was in a similar position to her and Lembrick helped him. Iris needs time to think it over, because what her brother needs most is a bone marrow transplant. He tells her to take back tonight to decide, but before she leaves he also says that he can find her brother a donor. That night, Iris and her brother are having dinner, when she gets a call by the job recruiter telling her that she didn't get the job. She's considering RSVPing to Lembrick, when she has a flashback to her and her brother driving home after she'd been tested to see if she would be a match to him and be his donor. She feels guilty for not being one, but her brother doesn't see it that way. Iris finds Lembrick's business card and calls. The following morning, she tells her brother that she will go out that night, but instead of telling him the truth, she says that she'll see some old friends from high school. Iris gets dressed for the dinner party and a car comes to pick her up from her house. During the drive she has another flashback of her brother asking her if she wants a life and her saying that they'll get through it. Iris arrives at the house, where she is greeted by the battler Bevins at the door. He shows her to the rest of the guests and when she enters he formally introduces her as the 8th guest. Two men come over to her and they start talking. Cal tells her that he's from Seattle and Lucas is from Iowa. They offer her a drink and tell her about the other guests. Peter is a high-stakes gambler from Vegas. The lady in the wheelchair is Linda. Iris recognizes her and waves. Travis is an Iraq vet and the girl is Amy. The older gentleman is Conway, who has conspiracy theories about the Lembricks. Iris gets her drink at last. Meanwhile, Dr. Barden is having a drink and is thinking about Iris and Lembrick. In a flashback, he's talking to him in his office after Iris left. The doctor thinks she's not right for his game, considering she has a sick brother. But, Lembrick thinks she's perfect and hands the doctor an envelope thanking him for his assistance over the years. Lembrick and his son Julian are getting ready for the dinner party and converse about the rules of the game. Lembrick cares much about the integrity of the game, but his son doesn't seem too excited. Bevins will take care of anyone who gets eliminated from the game. Julian mustn't either interfere or get too close to their guests, he may simply observe and interact with them. Before they leave he tells him he's underdressed. Bevins opens the door to the salon and asks the guests to leave all of their possessions there, like their phones. Conway protests, but Bevins informs him simply that those are the rules. Everyone does it, then the battler escorts them to the dining room. The group enters and everyone takes their pre-assigned seat at the table. The Lembrick father and son join them and welcome them. Bevins and his team bring in the first meal. Iris had neglected to mention that she's been a vegetarian for most of her life. Linda asks her about it, but Lembrick interrupts by presenting the first opportunity to make some money. He offers Iris $5, then $10,000 to eat the steak in front of her. She starts doing it, with reluctance and disgust, while Lembrick laments about the power of money to undo all that is important to oneself. Immediately, Lembrick sees another opportunity to torture his guests, when he notices that Conway refuses the wine and tells him that he doesn't drink. The man says that he's been sober for 16 years. Lembrick belittles him but also tells him that he wants to help him. He offers $10,000 if he drinks the wine. Conway refuses, but he offers him $50 if he drinks a full bottle of scotch. The man is devastated as he begins drinking the scotch and Lembrick laughs at him, applauding him for his choice. The dinner is soon over, with Conway drunk at the foot of the table. The game is just about to begin, to the amazement of the guests. Lembrick tells them that the game officially begins now and that it is essentially a children's game, called Would You Rather? In each round the player will be given a choice between two things, usually horrible. He makes an easy example out of Travis, but assures the players that the real thing would be much harder to choose from. As the game goes on and players are eliminated, the last one to remain is the winner. Lucas asks how players are eliminated and Lembrick says that if they can't continue for whatever reason they will be eliminated. Iris then asks what if someone refuses the choice, that would also mean elimination. Bevins steps in and puts a clock on the table, as Lembrick explains that the dilemmas are timed to 15 seconds, if the player doesn't make a choice they get eliminated. He then continues to tell them that the point of the game is to discover who of them deserves the Lembrick's help. Lastly, he gives them the opportunity to leave if they no longer wish to participate. Conway gets up and takes the money, but sits back down again. The game begins. Bevins brings in car batteries that he used in his time in MI6 as an interrogator. Everyone is shocked, but Conway is the one to react. He stands up and goes to leave, but when Lambrick tells him that he missed that opportunity, he curses at him and goes after him, when suddenly Bevins shoots him. The others are made to sit back down, held by gunpoint by Bevins and his team. Lambrick tells them that participation in the game is no longer voluntary and they continue with the game. Bevins puts the battery on Cal's head, and as Lambrick explains that he can either zap himself or Amy, the same thing has been put on her head as well. He starts the timer. Cal zaps himself. Next, Bevins puts the contraption on Linda's head and Amy is to decide who gets zapped. Amy electrocutes the old lady before Lambrick can even finish the sentence. Linda faints for a moment, but Bevins wakes her up for her turn. She doesn't want to do it and Peter says neither can he. She shocks Peter. Meanwhile, Dr. Barden gets his gun from a drawer and leaves his house in his car. The game continues between Travis and Lucas. Travis has already been shocked, so he shocks Lucas. Regaining his wits, he tells Iris that he can take one more and he won't shock her. She's afraid, but Bevins still puts the contraption on her. Lucas zaps himself and faints. Iris has to choose between herself and Cal. She electrocutes herself. The first round is over and the players are given a moment to compose themselves. Simultaneously, Barden's driving toward the Lambrick house. The players are left alone in the dining room and they start to plan the way in which they could escape. Julian walks in and starts messing with them. Travis gets angry and antagonizes him, but the son tells him that he made a big mistake. One of Bevins's men walks in and Julian instructs him to cover the walls and area around the table with plastic. Travis is still angry, but Lucas tries to calm him and the rest telling them that they want them to turn on each other. He thinks they should stick together. The rest don't think that will help. In the meantime, Dr. Barden gets to the estate, parks his car and jumps the fence. Lambrick comes back and starts the second round, telling them that they will all get 30 seconds to decide this time. He begins the game with Iris. He asks if she would rather stab Cal in the thigh with an ice pick or strike Travis 3 times with a whip. Travis tells her to choose him, because he can handle it. They both get ready. Lambrick tells Travis that it's going to hurt and Bevins shows her how to do it. The first hit doesn't count for being too weak. She strikes him harder, leaving 3 bloody marks on him. Then Lucas is given the same choice between Iris with the ice pick and whipping Travis again. The men understand each other that it should be Travis again, because stabbing someone in the thigh can be dangerous. Lucas strikes him and Julian seems to enjoy watching his pain. Lucas apologizes to him and Lambrick gives him his dilemma, to stab Lucas or be lashed 3 more times by Bevins. He can't do it and asks what he did wrong. Travis chooses the whip again. Lucas wants him to change his mind and stab him, but the Lambricks won't allow it, since it's against the rules. Bevins lashes him and destroys his back. Lucas tells Iris that he needs medical attention by this point. Meanwhile, Barden is getting closer to the house. He stops and hides when he sees a guard outside. Back at the table, it's Peter's turn and the choice is again between the ice pick and 3 more lashes for Travis. If he chooses the pick, it will have to be Linda. He doesn't want to stab a lady, but he doesn't want to hurt Travis any further. Peter says that Linda is paralyzed and won't feel a thing. He convinces her to let him do it and tells her to close her eyes. Lucas instructs him on how to do it. He stabs her and thinks he hit an artery. Lambrick moves on to Linda's decision and it's Travis again or the ice pick for Amy. Peter is attending to her wound, when suddenly she grabs the pick and stabs Amy, who slaps her in return. This delights Lambrick. Now that it's Amy's choice, he tells her to either whip Travis or choose any player she wants to stab. She looks at Linda and reminds the rest of the players that the game isn't about helping each other, but eliminating each other. Amy stands up and decides to stab Iris, asking if she could stab her anywhere. Lambrick half answers her, when she already stabs Iris in the waist. Lucas tries to help Iris, when Travis collapses. Simultaneously, Barden sneaks up to a different part of the house and gets into the basement. He gets his gun ready. In the dining room, Bevins checks on Travis, but he's still breathing. Peter gets their attention, because Linda is unconscious. Bevins checks on her too, proclaiming that she's dead and wheels her away. The choice is now Cal's. Finish Travis or stab Lucas. Cal thinks that maybe Amy is right and he has to eliminate someone. He decides to lash Travis. Travis is half dead at this point. When Cal sits down he tells Iris that it had to be done. She disagrees. Lambrick proclaims the second round over. He goes over to Bevins and asks him about Travis. Bevins tells him that he's still alive, but he can't continue playing. Lambrick chooses to move him out and informs the rest. He whispers something to Julian and consults quietly with Bevins. Simultaneously, Lucas asks Iris if she could run and suddenly jumps up, as Cal uses the whip to hit one of the guards. They all stand up and begin fighting with the guards, pushing Julian on the ground. He hides under the table. Amy stands aside, Lucas fights with Bevins and one of the guards grabs Iris. She stabs him with the pick and Cal lashes him. Then Cal goes over to Lambrick to whip him, but he shoots him and threatens everyone to come back to the table, including Julian. The remaining players take their seats, but Julian notices Iris is missing. Lembrick sends him and Bevins to find her. Iris escapes, but is still in the house dodging Bevins. He goes up to the second floor. In the meantime, Julian finds her and grabs her. He beats her up and wants to rape her. Both Bevins upstairs and Barton in the basement hear her screams. She stabs Julian with the pick and punches him off, when Barton appears in the basement. He tells her that he'll get her out of there, when he suddenly gets shot. Bevins has killed him. Julian tells him to shoot her too, but the battler tells him that his father will be very disappointed in him. He will take Iris back to the game, while Julian will be taken upstairs and left there. Iris comes with him peacefully. Lembrick rejoices when he sees her and asks about Julian. Bevins tells him what's happened and he goes to check on his son. Iris asks about Cal and Lucas tells her that he's dead. Amy says that they won't just let them leave and Iris agrees with her. Lembrick returns and apologizes to Iris for his son's behavior. He wants to continue with the game, but Amy is angry that Iris is still allowed to compete, considering she almost got all of them killed. Peter agrees with her. Lembrick reminds her who is in charge there. The next round begins with a barrel being rolled inside the dining room. They have to decide between the known, the water barrel, or the unknown, the cards in the envelope, which might contain harsh punishments. Lucas asks about the barrel and Lembrick tells them that they will be held in it under the water for 2 minutes. Peter is the first to make a decision. He thinks he's figured out the game, so he starts analyzing his choices. Bevins starts the timer, as Peter continues talking. He chooses the envelope. The card inside shows a symbol. Lembrick interprets it for him as holding a firecracker in his hand. Peter is smug about his choice, thinking the punishment is small, when he is given dynamite. Lembrick tells him that he's made his choice and that he needs to move away from the table. Bevins secures the dynamite to his hand. Peter lights the fuse and the dynamite explodes in his hand. He faints, as Lembrick goes over to see the damage up close. Bevins tells him that he might be having a heart attack, but it turns out that Peter is already dead. Lucas is next. He thinks he won't make it for 2 minutes underwater, so he chooses the envelope as well. His card has an eye on it that Lembrick tells him that it means he has to slit open his eye with a razor. Lucas begs and pleads, saying he can't do it. But Lembrick gives him 30 seconds to decide if he'll cut his eye or die. Iris cries as she sees him struggle. Amy is uncomfortable too. In a moment, Lucas does it. Iris chooses the barrel, unwilling to gamble. Lembrick sets the timer and Bevins submerges her under the water. She immediately begins to struggle. Amy can't even watch. Iris has a flashback of her brother telling her about a dream in which he's drowning and she tries to save him, but can't. She begins to drown, but Bevins just holds her tighter. Her 2 minutes are up and she survives contrary to everybody's expectation. Lucas asks what was in her card. Lembrick tells Lucas to check, and when he shows him the card with a tooth, he says it was a close call. The card meant she'd have all her teeth extracted. Bevins is disappointed. Maybe next year, Lembrick says. Amy is the only one left. She chooses the envelope, because her husband drowned her child and she doesn't want the barrel. Unfortunately, her card also means barrel, only to stay under for 2 minutes longer. She goes to the barrel and Lembrick sets the timer again. Bevins holds her down and Iris can't take it. He's drowning her. Amy stops struggling and Bevins takes her out. Lembrick is disappointed this time, he had his bet on her winning the game. He tells Iris to sit across from Lucas for the last round of the game. Before the final round starts, Lembrick shares a few words. He says that this game is one of the best he's had and that he'd be truly happy if either one of them won. Then, he tells them that they will flip a coin to decide which one of them will go first in the last round. Heads is Iris and tails is Lucas. Bevins flips the coin. Iris gets to go first. The final would you rather that Lembrick gives her is between ending the game with the two of them leaving empty-handed or eliminating Lucas and getting everything. Lucas expects her to make the right decision and tells her why he came to the dinner party. He begins talking and Iris shoots him point blank. Lembrick, Bevins and all of the staff applaud her for winning. Bravo! Iris gets the money and the donor for her brother has been located as well. Lembrick asks her to thank him for his generosity, which she does and then walks away. Iris arrives home and puts everything down. She goes to check on her brother and thinks that he's sleeping. Then, she goes to wash up and prepares for bed. Iris goes to check on her brother again, but he hasn't moved at all. She turns him around and sees that he's dead. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.